All right, when you hear the word miracle, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably some huge, grand physical event, right? But what if a miracle wasn't something you see, but something you read? Today, we're diving into this exact idea, the claim that a book can be so perfectly written that it's literally beyond human ability, that the words themselves are the miracle.
I know, it's a pretty bold claim. How on earth can a book, just words and sentences, be a miracle? And we're not just talking about its message or its wisdom, we're talking about its very architecture. The idea that its literary form is so unique that no human could ever hope to replicate it.
Yeah, this is what we usually think of. It's the classic image, right? Parting seas, healing the sick, these huge visible events that just seem to break the laws of nature. It's what we expect, something that changes the physical world around us. Okay, but here's where we take a sharp turn. Let's imagine a miracle that isn't for the eyes, but for the mind, for the heart. A miracle you'd find in the perfect choice of a word, in a flawless arrangement of sentences, and in the unbelievable effect it has on you when you hear it. That's the kind of intellectual miracle we're getting into today.
Now, this whole idea has a name in Islamic theology. It's called ijaz. And it's not just a passive concept, it's actually framed as a direct and profound challenge, one that has been echoing for centuries.
To really get our heads around this, we're going straight to the source. Our explainer today is grounded in this book, which is an amazing collection of works by three of the most important classical thinkers who first systematically laid out the argument for the Qur'an's miraculous nature. So let's break it down. What exactly is ijaz? Well, at its core, it's the belief that the Qur'an is totally imitable, that it's impossible for any human to replicate. The word itself comes from a root that means to render powerless, which is pretty intense. The idea is that the text is so masterful, it literally leaves humanity powerless to produce anything even close to it.
I get this. This isn't some interpretation that came centuries later. This doctrine comes directly from the Qur'an itself. It openly challenges anyone who doubts its divine origin to try and produce even one chapter of a similar quality. This is that famous challenge that sits right at the very heart of ijaz.
So while the challenge is right there in the text, it took some truly brilliant scholars to build the formal intellectual framework for understanding ijaz. And we're going to look at the three main architects of this idea, the very thinkers whose work is in our source text.
And we're not talking about recent history here. We have to go way back, over 1,000 years, deep into the Islamic Golden Age. These three scholars, all working across the 10th and 11th centuries, really laid the intellectual groundwork for this entire field of study.
First up, we've got al-Rumani. His big focus was on what's known as balagha, or rhetorical eloquence. He just dove into the Qur'an's literary toolbox, its metaphors, its conciseness, its imagery, and he argued that it all reached a level of perfection that was simply not human. For him, the miracle was in its sublime beauty and its incredible power to persuade.
Then you have al-Khattabi, who took a slightly different but still related path. He argued that the Qur'an's miracle was in its unbelievable combination of being both crystal clear and profoundly deep. He said its words had this unique psychological effect that just captivated people's hearts in a way no other speech could. It was perfectly understandable, yet deeply moving all at the same time.
And finally, we have Abd al-Qahir al-Jurjani, who is often considered the absolute master of this field. He developed the theory of Nazm, which is all about composition and word arrangement. See, for al-Jurjani, the miracle wasn't just in the beautiful words, it was in their perfect, unchangeable order. He said it's like a perfectly built stone arch. Each word is in its precise place. If you move or change just one, the whole structure of meaning and feeling just collapses. This perfect composition, he argued, was the ultimate proof of divine authorship.
So I know this can all sound like some pretty high-level literary debate from a long time ago, but the concept of ijaz had and still has a massive impact on Islamic civilization. This was never just an academic exercise.
For Muslims, ijaz became the #1 proof of the Prophet Muhammad's mission. Think about it. Unlike physical miracles that are temporary, this was a lasting, intellectual miracle that every generation could analyze for itself. It became the foundation of the Qur'an's divine authority, and it even kick-started the development of Arabic grammar and rhetoric. As scholars scrambled to understand its unique power, it's truly a cornerstone of the faith.
And that brings us to the biggest takeaway. The whole concept of ijaz means that the medium is the message. The book isn't just a container for divine guidance. For believers, the very form of the book, its language, its structure, its sound, is the living, enduring miracle.
And that leaves us with a final thought to mull over. Whether you look at it as a matter of faith or as a fascinating piece of literary theory, this 1,000-year-long discussion around ijaz really forces us to ask a much bigger question. What gives a text its enduring power? And what does it really mean for words on a page to be considered timeless?